11 meteorologist Ryan Weekman.
The following is a special presentation of 1330 WFIN and 95.5 FM.
Welcome to tonight's political forum on 1330 WFIN, WFIN.com, and now at 95.5 FM.
WFIN and the Findlay-Hancock County Chamber of Commerce welcome you to tonight's candidate forum featuring the 5 candidates in the contested Republican primary for Findlay City Council at large. They are Antonia Faisand, Heather Carlin Kensinger, L. Reed Needles, Randy Odermatt, and Bradley L. Wagner. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for your time. Thanks also to 50 North for hosting us once again for today's forum. We made a couple of adjustments to the standard protocol to accommodate the large field of candidates who are participating this evening. First, in order to get to as many topics as possible, we will allow a minute 30 for responses to each question, with 1 minute allotted to follow-ups and rebuttals. Secondly, we have set aside 90 minutes for tonight's discussion as opposed to the customary 60-minute window. We may or may not use all 90 minutes, but we have it set aside. So settle in and let's get started with opening remarks, and we'll go right down the row here, beginning with Ms. Faisand.
I would like to thank WFIN for offering this opportunity to share about myself as I run for City Council at large. My name is Antonia Faisand, and I have been a resident of Findlay for most of my life. I've been married to my wonderful husband, John, for almost 24 years, and I have 2 wonderful children, Michaela and Julian. I became an active voter after I turned 18, and as far as I can recollect, I have voted consistently when it came to federal elections, but I've been more aware and involved locally over the last 20 years. For years, I have noticed what I would call red flags within city governance. I would complain, I would hear others complain, and finally, I just said enough is enough. At some point, the complaining had to stop. It was time to get involved, so here I am. After taking a 12-week Constitution class and being nominated to serve on the Hancock Executive Committee of the Republican Party, I decided to run for City Council at large. I've been involved in this community for about 25 years and in various ways. 5 years as a church planner, international ministry for several years, running a support group for parents who have special needs children for 16 years, founded and ran a nonprofit for 4 years. I serve on Family Children First Council, and I've been doing that for 7 years, both as a parent representative and a regular attender. And then I've also been a presenter for the CIT, or Crisis Intervention team, and I've been doing that for several years. Can I finish my...
Finish that sentence.
And recently nominated for a co-chair position with Ohio Department of Health Complex Medical Health Program Parent Advocacy Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. My name is Heather Carlin Kensinger, and I'm honored to be here tonight. 7 generations ago, my ancestors, Squire Carlin and Bass Rawson, helped to found the city of Findlay. The legacy continued with my grandfather, William Carlin, who served as mayor in the 50s and 60s. You may remember my father, Scotty Carlin, who made his mark on the basketball court and earned a place in the Hancock County Sports Hall of Fame. I'm running for City Council to help ensure the next 7 generations have the same opportunity to thrive in Findlay as mine did. What I love the most about Findlay is its sense of community. Whether we're cheering at basketball games, watching parades roll down Main Street, or catching the first balloons rise through the morning mist at Emory Adams Park, Findlay brings people together. We share conversations at the Marathon Center Farmers Market, celebrate our country under the fireworks at the fairgrounds, and make friends at the local checkout line at Great Scott. Looking ahead takes vision. As a local State Farm agent, I work every day with individuals and families from all walks of life to help secure their future. City Council should do the same. They should protect what matters and build what's possible. Strong schools, thriving businesses, and housing for every stage of life. Legacy will guide us, community will unite us, and vision will drive us. I'm Heather Carlin Kensinger. I hope by the end of tonight I've earned your trust and your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Needles.
Thank you for being here today. My name is Reed Needles, and I'm honored to run for City Council at large. This is my first time running for office, and I'm deeply committed to serving this community. I've always called Findlay home, but it's not just where I grew up. It's where my wife and I decided to come back to and plant our roots. I grew up in a household that valued involvement and community support. That foundation shaped my belief and the importance of fiscal prudence. Our city's budget reflects the hard work of every resident, and it's our ability to ensure that tax dollars are spent wisely. This relationship between government and citizens hinges on trust and accountability, and I want to exceed your expectations. Secondly, we need a community that fosters growth and opportunity. By planning and providing essential services, strengthening the infrastructure, and making strategic land decisions, we can create an environment where businesses thrive, families feel safe, and public spaces flourish. Finally, I believe the power of strong, effective relationships. I will provide open communication with city officials, businesses, organizations, and residents to ensure your voices are heard and your concerns are met. I ask for your support in this campaign so we can build a brighter future for Findlay together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Odermatt.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank WFIN and Chris Oakes for this opportunity. My name's Randy Odermatt. I've been in Findlay since 1992. Grew up in Northwest Ohio. My family's been here I'm the sixth generation that was born in this area, most of them from Fremont. And I went to school at Bowling Green State University, graduated in 1978 with a degree, Bachelor of Science in Education, history and political science major with a minor in sociology. Went into teaching for a few years, decided that really wasn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my career, and ended up in Findlay in 1992, opening up an Avis rent-a-car agency, working at Marathon. A lot of the companies also besides Marathon and the general public. So I feel that my experience there in dealing with a lot of different kinds of people, I'd be sitting there one day and here would come a corporate executive from Marathon or Cooper Tire, and the next person in's coming in because they've decided to use their income tax return check or their COVID stimulus check to drive around in a newer car for a couple of weeks. So I had a big spectrum there, and I learned to deal with all these people. I think I gained a lot of respect from them, and I treated them all fairly. So I think that is something that I can do as far as working with a lot of different types of people. I'm a member of the Republican Central Committee, and I ran for council in 2023 against Mr. DeArmond. Was unsuccessful in that, and I thought that I would leave him alone this time and go a different route. And I think this is going to work out for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Wagner.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you again to WFIN, Chris Oakes, and 50 North. I look forward to this opportunity to discuss the ideas, topics, concerns of Findlay, Ohio. My name is Brad Wagner. You can see my signs around town, but I'm going by Bradley L. Wagner on the ballot. That's my mom would have had it no other way. I was born in Findlay, and so is my wife, Jill Wasbro Wagner. 3 of our 4 adult girls were born here as well. Jill and I love Findlay so much, we purchased property at Maple Grove Cemetery. I'm not a career politician, although I do enjoy politics. I'm a businessman. I spent 30-plus years in business, 5 years serving the United States Navy as an air crewman, electronic warfare operator. Currently, my wife and I manage Wasbro Rental Properties and the Sherman House, as well as Wagner Rental Properties. Findlay's a great city, and I'm confident that its greatest days are yet to come. This election is not about me. It's about the people of Findlay electing people that they trust to make sound decisions to keep our water systems functional and modern, the roadways properly maintained, and our first responders and maintenance personnel supported. I'm confident that my business experience will prove to be an asset. I'm conservative by nature, and balanced budgets are essential to me. If the voters elect me, I will attend all council meetings and committee assignments well prepared.
Thank you.
Good timing.
I'm going to write that down for future reference. We're going to ask every candidate if they've purchased a plot at Maple Grove moving forward. I think that's a good issue. We should file that away for future use. We're actually going to try something a little bit different to begin our question and answer session this evening. You each have a card in front of you, and I'm going to ask you at this time to write down in just a few words what you feel is the most important issue, problem, or concern facing the city of Findlay today. Don't show it to me or anyone else just yet. I'll give you a couple of moments to think about that while I explain to the audience. What I want to do is to avoid playing a game of follow the leader, where one person's answer and discussion is influenced by the person that comes before them. They may end up writing down the same thing, each and every one of them, but at least we'll know it's an unfiltered response that wasn't influenced by what the last person said. So if you've got that for us here, just a couple of words, and we'll go right down the line again and find out what each of you has written. We'll start with Ms. Faison.
So I would note fiscal responsibility and the prioritizing of needs over wants.
Okay. Explain why you consider this the most important issue for the city and how you would address this issue as a member of council.
Can you repeat the question? I apologize.
Why do you consider this to be the most important issue for the city, and how would you address the issue as a member of council?
Because we have a $6 million deficit, and so that's definitely a red flag. And for me, I guess when it comes to voting on council, I would push towards just being more responsible and prioritizing funding or money, taxpayer money.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Carlin Kinzinger.
So we're at a crossroads. And for me, I think that's a big deal in Findlay. We get to decide as a town what we're going to do at this point. Are we going to be welcoming to businesses? Are we going to draw people into our community? Or are we going to put up barriers that prevent that from happening? And so I think on council, we're going to make decisions in the next few years that are going to decide that and decide if our town and our community wants to welcome businesses and other leaders into it, or if we're going to put up barriers for that.
Very good. Mr. Needles.
I wrote down, can you hear that? I can't hear me. I wrote down being too successful. As we continue to grow, and Findlay has been very, very prosperous throughout the years, this does bring a sense of challenge. It brings challenges to our town. We need to be able to keep up with our success. We need to be able to have those infrastructures built and in place before we get to growing too much. So that's why I believe it's just being too successful, and we need to be able to keep up with our growth.
Mr. Odermatt.
I'm changing mine at the last minute. Had a second thought. Responsible growth. I think we've seen a lot over the past. I've lived in Findlay since, like I said, since 1992. A lot of people here are old enough to have remembered what was going on in Findlay in 1992 and how much things have changed since then. We brought in a lot of companies. We've expanded east, north, but a lot of it's the same kind of stuff. You know, we've got warehouse, we've got trucking companies, we've got more than enough gas stations, restaurants, fast food restaurants, those types of things. What I would like to see is to continue that growth, but maybe manage it a little bit better. Try to get in some higher paying jobs, all right? All these $18, $20 an hour jobs are great if you've got two people in a couple working those jobs. One can't make it on that. I know a lot of that has to do with the other side of it is maybe promoting more training for some of the skilled positions within our schools. I'd like to see that too. You talk to anybody who's a welder or has a machine shop, they can't find people. And those people are making a lot of money. So I think we just need to take a look at making growth is fine, but keep it on a manageable level.
And Mr. Wagner.
The first thing I put down was downtown. Jill and I are vested in downtown in our business, but it's bigger than that. I'm excited about Findlay. In my Navy training and as a national account manager, Whenever I would come to any kind of a management setting, they never wanted to hear anything from me about why we cannot hit our goals. Findlay has got some amazing leaders. I am humbled to be sitting here. Everybody up here in front of me, all the businesses in town, I don't see how we can fail. I just want to be part of it. I think, and I know that I can add to it. I can help everybody make good financial decisions. We all believe in that. We all want fresh water. We all want clean air. But I don't see how we can allow, and we won't allow Findlay to fail. It's going to be a great place. I want to be part of it. I want downtown. I want the new parks. I want our industrial centers. I want all the different industries to thrive. And this is exciting. We're going to do well, and I'm going to be part of it.
Thank you. It's interesting. We did get some similar responses here, and so I want to go back and kind of highlight a couple of those and expand on the discussion and have you elaborate some more the topic of responsible growth being too successful. When that was being discussed, I saw some of the others of you kind of nodding your head. Let's go again down the line and talk a little bit about how to manage success and manage responsible growth and what the role of the city is specifically as a member of city council and how you would work to manage that or to accomplish that from a position of city leadership. And again, we'll begin with Ms. Faison.
For me, it's just maintaining what we have. I'm for the beautification of the city. I'm definitely for bringing in, expansion and growth, but I think there needs to be a balance. I think an example might be a $40 million park that's across the street from an empty building. And I see the contrast. And so I would love to balance that out.
Very good. And Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
I think something that Reed said actually was important, when that was infrastructure. When we, as a city, when you are going to grow and you're going to plan those things out, I've been in cities where it wasn't planned well, and I've been in cities where it was. And you can tell the cities that were thoughtful about the property that they had and that they were purposeful. They put in streets and water lines and electricity, and they prepared an area so that when businesses or homes went in, it was done well. And then it wasn't haphazard, and it wasn't places that we couldn't use and lots that ended up being at a weird angle. There was things that happened to set it up for success. And I think as Findlay grows, we have to do that well. I think we have to look at putting it in infrastructure. I know that City Council has considered that going into the new freeway exit that's being put in, and off of that, some of that infrastructure, putting that in ahead of time. I think that's wise. I think you have to do that as a city to prepare for what's to come. And if you're short-sighted, you can miss it. And then we miss the opportunity to bring in a business or to set a developer up for success so that our city can grow responsibly.
Mr. Needles.
Well, she took the words right out of my mouth. But I agree with her. Everything she said, pretty much. As far as the city council goes, I think it's important that when we are growing to consider the zoning, making sure that we have the correct zoning out there for the correct businesses. That would actually help out a lot in our growth and our continued growth. And then again, infrastructure, I can't say it enough. We need to keep up. If we're going to grow, we have to maintain what we have and make more.
Mr. Roadmap.
I can agree with most of what these two said, but I'd like to add a few other things. I think one thing that we need to look at in business growth is concentrating very heavily on local business growth, not just bringing in any chain store that wants to come in here. I have a personal opinion that Walmart ruined every single small city in this nation, because when they moved in, it closed up all the local mom and pop places, and they had to go be greeters at Walmart in order to have a job. That's not right. Okay, I think we need to look more at encouraging our small local businesses, patronizing our local businesses, family businesses. That's what this community should be all about, not sending profit dollars to multinational corporations somewhere. I think also, I think Reed touched on the part about the zoning. Might have been Heather, I'm sorry. But one of you were talking about the zoning of some of this stuff. And I think that's true too. We need to maintain our neighborhood integrities in this town. We have seen numerous cases where somebody wants to pop an apartment complex in the middle of a residential area. Somebody wants to pop a cannabis zone in a school area. All right? These are things that we can't have. We have to maintain our integrity. We have to save our historical buildings and build from there. Thank you.
And Mr. Wagner.
I think it's a shame that we can't all five be elected because there's some sharp people up here. And whether you like me or three of us are going to make it and two of us aren't. But yeah, it's hard sitting down here at the end because it's all great, great ideas. If you elect me, I don't have all the answers and nobody in this room has all the answers. But I know that Findlay's got some really, really sharp people. So it's going to, if you put me on board, it's going to be my responsibility to make sure I've got the sharpest individuals working together for Findlay first, to solve any and all complications, problems. I think problems are good things to have. We're lucky that we have these growth problems. I've seen many cities around Northwest Ohio, I've been here since 1961, that didn't care this much, that didn't dig into it, and they allowed their cities to die on the vine. We're not going to allow that to happen. None of you people are going to allow it to happen. And I want to be part of making sure that it handles its growth and stays on the cutting edge. And I'm confident that we're going to do that.
Thank you. And the responses earlier, again, kind of going through those and expanding on some of those. I believe it was Ms. Carlin Kensinger, who talked about Findlay being a welcoming community and that being a priority for her. And I'd again like to go down the row and have you all discuss a bit on that topic. What do you see that makes Findlay a welcoming community, makes ours a welcoming community? What are we doing well? What could we be doing better? What would you like to see us do to be as welcoming as possible for growth within the community? Because it does circle back to the question of growth. And again, we'll begin with Ms. Faison.
I think what's really unique about our city is the community, the activities, Boogie on Broadway. We do the Oktoberfest, Historical Museum, all those things. And I'm a community-oriented type individual, obviously based on the things that I've been involved in. And I love the idea of continuing to cultivate that. And trying to think of, I mean, I'm for the cultivation of that and supporting it. And, but I think my main thing is just that we need to prioritize things so that way we can better serve people.
Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
When I'm talking about a welcoming community, I think you have to remember the person who's sitting across from you. And I think sometimes it can be very easy to draw a line and to generalize a people or a group of people into one area or the other. And I think as a pastor's wife for most of my life, that's not how I operate or function. And I'm going to welcome the person across from me and sitting down with business leaders in our community who are having trouble hiring young families because they look and they see things going on in our city and they think, I don't know that they would welcome me, because I don't know that I am going to fit in that community if they are so close-minded about something. And I think that's not who Findlay is. I think in general, we're a very welcoming community. I think we have amazing events that draw people in from all sorts of walks of life. And I want that to continue. I don't want people to feel like they can't come to Findlay because we did something or a group of people shouted so loudly about an isolated thing that they didn't feel welcome to come. And I've heard leaders, and I've heard leaders in our hospital and some of our companies that they've offered jobs and people said no because I won't feel comfortable going to Findlay. I had a dad sit across from my desk and say his grandson doesn't feel welcome in our schools.
Mr. Needles.
On the topic of welcoming community, I think Findlay is a welcoming community. Like we said, we do all these events, and everyone's pretty happy at these events because that's why they're there. We also are a community that's welcoming because we rally around people, and we rally around our organizations and charities that go on in this town. We also could do, or we should also be rallying around or be a welcoming community for small businesses. I believe that we need more of these small businesses, and that we could come up with ways to welcome them into our town, making it easier for them to start their business, working with the chamber, working with our economic division. I believe we could come up with ways to make it easier for them to start their business, whether it be a packet that kind of planned out their timeline or who they need to speak with within our city to get their small business going. And that way we're welcoming those small businesses, making it easier for them to become part of our community.
Mr. Odermatt.
Well, when I first came to Findlay in 1992 and started getting into the rental car business, I started running into, there was a lot of people here from outside the United States. At that time, out on the east side with the international trade zone was taken off, there were a lot of Japanese especially coming in at that time. I think we did a good job of making them feel welcome. I've talked to a couple of them, and they didn't think they were going to get that kind of response. They were surprised. If you go to the University of Findlay, I've dealt with a lot of the students there. It seemed like during the 90s and into maybe about 2000, they were mostly from Asia. Then it became a lot of people from India, and then it became people from the Middle East. A lot of students. I don't know how many they've got. I've heard, like, throw a number out there, 700, 800, something like that, international students. And I think that overall, those people have felt pretty welcome. I judge people by how they act, not by where they're from. And I think a lot of us are that way. A lot of this division that we've seen over the last few years, and especially in the last couple of years with the immigrants coming in here, that we weren't really sure what they were doing here and why they got here and all that. But that didn't really have anything to do with us. That was, we dealt with it. And I don't think there were really any problems. I didn't see a lot of problems. And hopefully that's going to get taken care of. Thank you.
And Mr. Wagner.
Chris, I just wanted to clarify. So I'm living in my little bubble. I guess Jill and I have got residents staying in our apartments from 20 plus countries. And she was an English second language teacher for 26 years. We're very involved with the university, but maybe I have overlooked there's people that don't feel welcome here, and I'll take the hit for that. So we can always do better with that. Not exactly sure how. Maybe she'll be able to teach me that. She teaches me stuff every day. But I've always thought that we were a very, very welcoming community. Can we get better? Apparently, we need to. So I'm all ears. Yeah, I'm an open book. I talk to people every day. And like I said, down at the Sherman House, I don't know. It's like the United Nations. And it's a lot of fun. It really is. There's professionals living there. So if I need to shake some more hands, I will.
Thank you. Ms. Faison, again, earlier you talked about fiscal responsibility. I do have a couple of questions with respect to fiscal matters and budgets, so let's get into that. Earlier this year, there was some significant debate about the financial forecast for the city and the possibility of spending more than it takes in. Auditor Jim Stasiak in February said that the city's budget is no longer sustainable. Mayor Murren, on the other hand, says she anticipates more favorable revenue over the course of the year and points out that department heads have worked to come in under budget and return unspent money to the general fund throughout the course of prior years. What would your approach be to this budget process? And we're going to go the other direction on this one and start with Mr. Wagner.
It was a lot of fun being down at this end. I could just go on to all these
I got to throw you a
curveball
curveball every now and then.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't have all the answers there. Jill and I have been attending all the council meetings for quite some time and watched it on the radio, watched it on is it YouTube, Facebook, something like that. And I need to learn more about it. I do not like deficit spending. Jill and I operate our business completely debt-free. It's just, so this is going to be quite the education for me. I know it's not going to be the Brad Club. I am going to have to cooperate with everybody to the best of my ability, but I prefer balanced budgets. And for everybody to convince me to go in debt, it's going to be tough. I don't like it. So I have to learn more from everybody. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to give you a lecture on finance, but I need to learn and find out. But I will push back on budgets that aren't being managed properly.
Thank you. Mr. Odermatt.
Well, I'm not an expert on our budget, but I have been going to council meetings for 2+ years and have talked with some of the individuals there and seen some of the discussion that's going on. You have two things that you definitely need, and that is public safety, and that includes your police, fire department, legal system, whatever you want to throw in there, and you have infrastructure, your streets, water, sewer, all of that thing. Those are things that you have to have. All right. If you look at the percentage, and I don't have the percentage, maybe Dan could help me out on this, but it's like what, 2/3 of the budget, something like that, is that fixed cost. So now you've got that other, however many percent, a small amount that are the other things that you can do. And from there, you have to really be careful of separating the needs from the wants. There's certain things that you have to have. There's certain things that you can put off. Things like a downtown park, for example. We really have to take a look at these things. And I think also that I would be willing to work with our auditor very closely to learn a little bit more about exactly what goes into that. He's been taking a lot of flack lately, and some of it maybe was brought on by him and some of it was not. But I think there's a lot to learn there, and I'm willing to learn it.
Mr. Needles.
Well, my profession is in finance, and I believe that Findlay, Ohio is in a good position. Clearly, I don't want to go over budget either, and I don't think we really have to worry about that. The people who came before us made sure that we saved money, and we had a rainy day fund, so we have something to fall back on. I do believe, I think Chris noted on this as well, that oftentimes, and City Council and the Mayor have done a great job of working with our different departments and setting a budget that they can use, but aren't going to be penalized if they don't use this budget. And oftentimes they come in under. So I think, we're in a good financial position. There's always room for improvement. There's never not room for improvement. But I do believe we're in a good financial position.
Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
So because I'm not on City Council and I don't know all the intricacies of our budget, I wanted to do a little research on it. So I looked up every year the state auditor has to look at our finances. And now the last indicator that we got is 2023 because they're a year behind in auditing. But according to the state auditor, our city's in a good place. We're nowhere near critical outlooks. We have two minor cautionaries. One was just a drop in revenue because of income taxes that came in and they dropped due to some things that are beyond our control in money that was made. And then the other one is just how we're looking at some of our long-term infrastructure. And I believe it's the city water plant that needs some upgrades because of the age of it. But overall, if the state of Ohio is saying that Findlay's in a good position, and there's a lot of cities, if you look through it, that aren't. They have a lot of red indicators and yellow indicators, and we're just not in that place. And so I think, just like Reed said, I think we've had some really smart people that went ahead of us who saved money when we needed it saved. And I think operating within your budget is good, but I also understand the flex of it. Having run large budgets for ministry, you give a department this much and this much, that would be over the whole thing, but this one comes under because they have some flex in how they spend it.
And Ms. Hazan.
I believe a balanced budget is necessary. And I guess my question is, why are we spending money now and hope it comes later. I'm not sure. I think for me, is this how we live in our own personal home? For me, I personally live simply, and I spend wisely. I don't spend when I don't need to spend, and I'm okay with saying no, and I'm not for living above my means. I would just bring those common sense practices to city government. The other thing we have to consider, federal and state funding. I mean, right now, we're in limbo. If we're in a deficit, this is a problem because we don't know what's coming at us federally and statewide. So we really need to be mindful of that. I'm for simplifying money management, you know, not having this red tape and things that we can get intertwined in, and spending on things that we shouldn't be spending on. And I'm definitely for the rainy day fund, maybe extend it. Maybe we need more in that fund. So that's where I would land.
Right. Also on the subject of the city budget, again, as we were referencing a little bit earlier, about 20% of the 2025 budget is dedicated to capital plans. And I want to ask of each of you what, in your opinion, would be the highest priorities or should be the highest priorities for capital spending and infrastructure investment. And once again, we'll begin with Mr. Wagner.
I have seen the plans for the $40 million park. That sounds insane. I don't know how much it's going to take to clean up downtown, the river, but I do know that our downtown has got to be cleaned up. When you stand on our Main Street Bridge and look in either direction, it's pretty embarrassing. And we've got to do something. Don't have all the answers there, but we just can't leave it set the way it is. Right now, when people come to Findlay from other cities and take a look at it, that's got to be a destination. Jill and I went to an event at the Historical Museum last week, and I encourage all of you to go down there and check it out. But there's a picture of two steamboats in the Blanchard River, and you could go downtown, get on a steamboat, and go all the way out to the park. It was great. So the forefathers, they knew what they were doing. They had some vision here. I believe we have to think very, very large. We've got to clean it up. It's a mess right now. And I know it's coming slowly, and a lot of people have got a lot of big ideas on how we have to manage that with our flood mitigation. We all have to work together to get Findlay cleaned up and make it a destination. And I forgot where I was going, but we have to manage our funds properly. We have to be responsible. And we might not be able to do it all next week or next year, but we've got to get some plans in place. And I'm pretty sure we've got the people here in town that can help us do that.
Mr. Odermatt.
I would echo most of what Brad said as far as the downtown area. I think that's even the entire city, but specifically downtown. Something has to be done with all the areas that we cleaned out and cleared out after all of the flood mitigation a few years ago. You drive around, there's empty lots all over. We got to do something with them. That should be part of the capital plan. But the biggest part of the capital plan, I think, should be water and sewer. There's been some debate the last couple of years about whether or not we have enough water reserves. That's still up for grabs. I think it depends on who you talk to. Our sewer systems, we need some serious work on separating out storm sewers from the sanitary sewers. We run into that problem every time we have a flood. We're just dumping raw sewage into the river. These are things that the capital plan needs to address, and I feel that there is some. This isn't anything new to our city people. They've been working on this. Trust me, I've been going to the meetings. They know what's going on. There just may be a little bit of disagreement on how it gets done and when. But I think it'll happen, and we should make it happen.
Thank you. And Mr. Needles.
Can you repeat that question?
Roughly 20% of the, maybe exactly 20% of the 2025 budget is dedicated to capital plans. What are, in your opinion, the highest priorities, and what should the highest priorities be for capital spending and infrastructure investment?
Definitely continue to invest in our downtown, but make sure that we are doing it wisely, making sure we're investing in things that are only going to benefit Findlay. We don't want to invest in something that's a flash in the pan, some kind of a, quick in and out. We invest in something that's trending, right? We want to invest in something that has lasting longevity for our city, something that's gonna be around and we can utilize as a community. I also believe what Randy was saying. We need to invest in our infrastructure. I can't say it enough. It is so important to our city and our growth.
Ms. Carlin Kinzinger.
And I wouldn't have known the answer until I dug into that report and talking through the infrastructure of our city and looking at what they are looking at as far as our city, and that we do have some major things we need to start with our infrastructure for our water treatment plant because of the age of it, to make sure that it's up to standard, that it doesn't fail. There's some things we are starting, and City Council is starting those things. And they've started to prepare so that we know what we're going to do. They're making a capital plan in that regard. So I think that's our first and foremost thing. It's probably going to be expensive. We need to make sure that we're setting aside the funds for it, but that's important. If our water treatment plant, if our city water treatment plant isn't functioning the way it should, then all of us are going to have a problem. So I think that's very important. I think downtown, from my perspective in downtown, sometimes I feel like I'm in a Norman Rockwell painting, and we live downtown. So we get to see the snow when it falls among our buildings and walk down our streets. And I think we have an amazing place that we call Findlay. Now, there are areas, I do think the area on the side of the river, I think we have to do something. We can't leave it like that, but let's prioritize it, and let's make sure whatever we do does last.
And Ms. Faison.
Yeah, I would agree with the cleaning of the downtown for sure. I'm for the beautification, but also we have to make sure that it's decent ground that we can build on. So that definitely has to be tended to. And of course, what Randy said, I appreciate that. Water and sewer, of course, that's so important for us. You need water to live. So I guess that's a high priority. Another thing I would add is just the idea of slower growth. I think for me, mostly though, is the prioritizing. And I don't claim to know everything, but I would love to come to the table and hash it out and really pick out the things that are most important for our community.
We've kind of danced around this, and some of the responses have included comments about the plans for the downtown park project. And so I'll just ask very directly, and this will be for possibly an opportunity to sort of expand on the thoughts that have already been mentioned. About the downtown, the plans for downtown park. Do you support the project, and what should it include? What should it look like? And we'll begin with Ms. Faison.
So I'm for the beautification of downtown Findlay, actually our city, but $40 million is a high price tag, no matter which way it comes. The other thing is we have to consider maintenance through the years. The timing of it is not, I would consider it not a good time. Like I said, our economy, we don't know what we're up against here. We're dealing with a lot of different things at the federal level, and we must consider that. I think it's a little too much to bring in or want to have a park that's $40 million. I think I talked to a gentleman in the city. He has a wonderful idea for the park. I mean, we could spend a lot less, still make it look nice, and cultivate the community that we all want. I just don't think you need to spend $40 million on that. For me, I'm very frugal, and again, I would prioritize needs over wants and still have a nice, a place that people can go in the city. We just have to be really mindful of that. The price tag is way too high.
Ms. Carlin Kinzinger.
So looking at that space, I think, as we all do, that something needs to be done with it. I think when you put plans together, I think you tend to dream. I don't think there's anything wrong with dreaming about what Findlay could be. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this is amazing, and it would be amazing if we had this, if businesses donated, or if we got a grant from some other organization that helped with this. I think laying out a dream is a good idea for Findlay. Now, when you lay out a dream, then you have to come to reality. You have to know this is the pieces we can put in place right now. What could we start? What could we start in this project that wouldn't cost that much, but would give us a beginning, and then let people after us continue to add and continue to grow and make Findlay look better. And I think if we just draw a line and say, no, we're not going to dream big, we're not going to think that something could happen, I don't think we go out and we write a check for $40 million. I think that we take our time and we spend it wisely. We put in things that can be done less expensively to start with. But I think automatically saying no to something that could be a future project. If you look at the beginning of our city, those men and women never thought what we have built could be there. If we had told them no from the beginning, we wouldn't have the Findlay that we have now.
Mr. Needles.
So Findlay is a first-class city, and we deserve a first-class park, bottom line. That park is going to beautify that section. I think it's a great idea. I also think that investment is going to pay dividends back to us. It gives us a great space for entertainment. I mean, it's going to be such a large place that it could be a venue for bands to come or people to gather. Or, I mean, you could envision a business going down there using that park for sunrise yoga. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. But also you have to remember that location floods, right? So we have to build something there that isn't going to be affected if it does flood. So we're not going to put a new business there and watch it flood if something should happen. We're going to build a park that is going to be made to withstand this kind of damage if it does flood. So I think it's a good investment for us, our community, and as long as we utilize that investment to the best of its ability, I think it's going to pay dividends for Findlay, not only in a visual manner, but also an economic way.
Mr. Odermatt.
Well, I agree with most of what Heather said, but not so much of what Reed just said. I don't think a park is an investment. I don't think you'd ever make any money on it, but it is something that it has to be. All right, I don't think if you polled everybody in Findlay and said, should we make that into a park or something else? Everybody's going to go, well, it's got to be a park. All right, and it does. It's just a matter of how much money you want to spend on it, what you want there, and who's paying for it. All right. I would like to, the biggest problem that I had with it from the get-go, and I talked on this a year and a half ago, was they signed an agreement for $5 million to an outside company to make a plan for the damn thing. All right, that makes no sense at all. All right, you know, you can do better. It has to be a park. It can be done in stages. It doesn't have to have every bell and whistle. It doesn't have to have an $8 million bridge going across the river. All right, there's things you can do. The other thing is, if people have a vision and want to see this, well, then maybe they should be the ones who are funding it. Let's get corporate donations. Let's get private donations. Let's not get taxpayer donations. That's not where it comes from.
And Mr. Wagner.
Probably not allowed to say ditto to Reed and Heather. I don't think that's what you want to hear, but I agree with everything both of them said 100%. And I'm in favor of dreaming bigger. I'm sure that our forefathers back in the late 1800s, when they decided to put a steamboat all the way up and down the river and make it navigable, people said the same thing. Yeah, it's too much money. You guys are crazy. You'll never do it. We got to dream big. If we don't have big targets, we're going to fail. So I'm in favor of it. I don't know how it's going to be financed. I think we're sitting beside a finance guy right here, and he could probably drag us into the weeds. And I think after 20 minutes, people would start walking out, because I have been involved in financial meetings before. I did it for a while. But if we can pull it off, I think we should set our dreams as high as that and even higher, because there's a lot of money in Findlay and Hancock County. And yeah, I don't want to see all of our taxes go up. I'm not for higher property taxes. That's how Jill and I make our living. But I think there's probably a way. And I like guys who say that we're going to be going to Mars. I like guys who say that we're going to cure cancer. I like guys that say that we're going to make Findlay the envy of every small town in America. Sorry. Here we go. I'm passionate about this one.
We're going to take a quick break and come back with a few other points. But before we do, I just want to open things up real quickly for follow-up or rebuttal on anything that we have talked to this point. I know a number of you have been writing some notes and so on. So if there is anything that anyone wants to follow up on before we take our break and move on. All right, very good. We will return in just a couple of minutes with more from our Hancock County, or I'm sorry, our Findlay City Council at-large candidate forum here on WFIN.
Your news authority is 1330 WFIN, and now at 95.5 FM. Take WFIN wherever you go with our updated mobile apps for iPhone and Android. And now you can listen to us on your Alexa device. Get the app at WFIN.com or in the App Store or Google Play. Plus, enable Alexa by searching for WFIN under Skills, and you'll soon be saying, Alexa, play 1330 WFIN. And the best part is the apps and skills are absolutely free. On the air at 1330 WFIN and 95.5 FM. Online at WFIN.com and on your smartphone, tablet, and Alexa devices.
You want local sports? You've got lots of it at the WFIN Sports Archive. Play or download the Coach's Corner shows, plus games from your favorite teams, the Findlay Trojans, the BBC, and Ottawa Glandorf. You have the power of local sports at your fingertips with the Sports Audio Archive. Check it out by clicking Game Audio Archive under the Sports tab at WFIN.com.
Your first look at business and the business of life happens each weekday morning on WFIN. Hi, this is Gordon Deal, inviting you to join me at 5 a.m. for This Morning, America's First News. We'll give you the top money and business news, information about managing your money and retirement savings. Plus, there's the latest on technology, e-commerce, careers, health, entertainment, and much more. This Morning, weekdays at 5 a.m. And check out the weekend edition Saturday mornings at 5 on 1330 WFIN, WFIN.com, and now at 95.5 FM.
It's the weekly show on WFIN where we focus on Ohio sports. This is Matt Andrews. It's the Ohio Sports Magazine. Sunday mornings at 8 on your Sports Authority. 1330 WFIN, WFIN.com, and 95.5 FM.
Your news authority is 1330 WFIN, and now at 95.5 FM.
Welcome back to our candidate forum featuring the 5 candidates in the contested Republican primary for Findlay City Council at large. Once again, our candidates are Antonia Faison, Heather Carlin Kensinger, L. Reed Needles, Randy Odermatt, and Bradley L. Wagner. There are a couple of other topics that I want to explore here in the time that we have. All of you at various points during the campaigns have referenced housing as an important issue for the city. It's something we really haven't spoken a whole lot about to this point, the need to develop more middle-class and affordable housing in the city. What specifically do you believe the city can and should do to address this long-standing issue? And we'll begin with Ms. Faison.
I appreciate Habitat for Humanity. I think what they're doing within the city has been very helpful. I appreciate they're a hand up and not a handout. And so that is something that can be continued. And the other thing is, like, when we're bringing in businesses and that kind of thing, I think we could also, like, as you're growing and expanding and you're bringing in these jobs, at the same time, you're also focusing on the housing. So as you're bringing it in, then you're also considering what can we provide as a city to be able to balance those two worlds out. I think that's something that we have to consider, because I think we're unbalanced when it comes to that. The expansion of what's happening, with jobs and stuff, and yet we're short on housing. The other thing with immigration, 2,000 immigrants, I'm guessing that's the number, that's what I've been told. That's a lot. And where are they living? I think it's a disservice for people coming in, and we have nowhere for them to go. So it's just, I think it's the balance of those two worlds, and, partnering with people like Habitat for Humanity who can bring some of that, can offset some of that.
Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
So every day in my day job, right, I sell insurance. And so I get to be on the front end of when somebody finally gets an offer accepted and they get to buy a home in Findlay. I get the excited email that says, hey, our offer was accepted. How much is our insurance going to be? And I love to be a part of that with people, right? I love to see their faces. I love to get those emails. I got one today. They're so excited. They've been looking. They moved back home to be near his parents, and they've got an offer accepted on their house. And I think Findlay is doing a good job. I think when we talked about infrastructure and preparing for those kind of developments to go in, I think that that's something City Council can do. I may be in the minority. I think the City of Findlay needs codes on building. And some of the things that happen, I'm used to a little more than we have here. So I think we should have a little more accountability when our houses are fixed up and when they're put back on the market, so that when a family moves in, that it's not a money pit that they moved into, that there was quality workmanship that went into it. But I think planning ahead as a city, making sure when we have those developments that they're set aside and that we've done the infrastructure so that a good development can go in, so that the land we have is well used. And I think that's something we can do as City Council.
Mr. Needles.
And I agree with Heather on that, but also to add in to what she was kind of leaning into there, we need to not only have places for people to live, but we need to have good places for people to live. We need to have, apartments or homes that are for rent that are in good shape, that people want to live in. Because it's not necessarily that they don't want to live in Findlay, they just don't want to live in a place that is not well kept if they're renting before, maybe even before they own. So I think that's an issue. Also, just making sure that I think it's important to get people into Findlay and want to live into Findlay.
Mr. Odermatt.
Findlay's had a couple things happen over the last 15, 20 years that has exasperated this problem. We had a big flood back in 2007, as everybody knows, and what was one of the things that happened after that? We started wiping out hundreds of homes. Most of those homes were lower cost homes. All right, so now, and you can't build another one there. So now what do? You've wiped out hundreds of homes off the market. Supply and demand takes over. Back in the 90s, we were building all kinds of housing developments, specifically on the east side, maybe out Liberty Township way, up in Allen Township, all kinds of housing going in. That has kind of dried up. We do need to work on getting some more affordable housing in this town, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, because it's a very complex issue. You have to work with people. There are people paying $1,200, $1,500 rent that could go and buy a home and have a home payment of less than $1,000, but they can't get approved for the loan. How do you fix that? You got to be able to work with these people somehow, and I think the higher paying jobs is going to make a difference. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Sorry.
And Mr. Wagner.
I got to be careful here because I want to go home. My wife's glaring at me right now. Are we talking about low-income housing, or what specifically are we talking about?
We're talking about more affordable housing. You can define that in any number of ways.
Affordable housing is a term that the
affordable housing, middle-class housing
doesn't Yeah, that's a Democrat term. So, so if we're talking about low-income housing, I don't have the answers for that. That is troubling. But if I don't know exactly. Jill and I taught Landlording 101 for a long, long time, and I'm not in favor of government interfering with my business in any way, shape, or form. And I look at that as laissez-faire. I look at other communities where the government is getting involved in the housing community, let's just say Toledo, and where the government gets involved and tells landlords what to do, how to do, and when to do it, it always creates a blighted community. So I'm in favor of continuing to work with landlords, and I'm in favor of working with industry to bring in people that have higher incomes to support higher income housing. So it's a process, and I don't think we've got time tonight to get through the entire discussion in a minute and 30 seconds. Usually when we teach the course, it goes on for hours and sometimes days and weeks. So I'm willing to talk to anybody about it. So please, my telephone number's advertised. Love to do it.
Fair enough. Findlay this is kind of on the same, or on a similar track, I suppose. One of the things, and again, we talked a lot about growth, and we've talked a lot about expansion and things of that nature. And I do want to ask about this because Findlay is very proud of its historical buildings, be they the homes, the downtown buildings, what have you. A lot of history in this community that the city is very proud of. And yet, some of that history is being lost to some of the growth that we are seeing in the community, and there has been, in the past, some discussion in terms of to what extent it is appropriate for historical preservation to factor into approval of future growth or the direction of future growth within the city. There have been various thoughts expressed on this. So I want to kind of get your thoughts on balancing historical preservation with growth, and we'll start on the other end with Mr. Wagner.
Underneath the bus again. The Sherman House is a historical building here in Finland. We're very, very proud of it. So I work on it every day, and it costs us a lot of money to maintain, and I do not want to see old buildings torn down. So I am friends with Metzger Breckheisen. Those guys do phenomenal work. I know they did take some grant money to make it happen, or some grant funding. I don't want to say if they took money. I don't know how they did it, but they had some assistance, did a great job. I would really like to see a lot more of that done in downtown, and I don't want to see any more historical buildings torn down. There's got to be creative ways that we can keep them, have them all restored, make sure that they're safe and functional. And yeah, I'm not in favor of tearing down any more buildings. I hate when they burn.
Mr. Odermatt.
I'd agree with that 100%. It's a big issue for me. You know, being a history buff, you know, that was one thing that everybody says when they come to Findlay and drive down South Main Street. It's like their favorite part of town. Luckily, we've had, over the years, people who have lived in those homes, who have had the dedication and the financial resources to maintain those properties. As far as downtown, what the Breckheisens did with that house there by the tracks on North Main, that was great. We've seen that with a few years ago with Riyadh Yamin and Kevin Henning, when they did the loft buildings up above where Belts Clothing is. They've done a great job with some of that stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of that we lost due to fires. The Argyle building being the most glaring example of that. Those things will happen. I don't think there's any other structures downtown that we need to worry about coming down. They're going to stay there. So although it's a big issue for me, I don't think that, I think the city is pretty well committed to that. We had a little bit of a controversy with the YMCA expansion a couple years ago, managed to save the one home, which I think is still up in the air what's going to happen with that, but it's still there. So those are things that are important.
Mr. Needles.
So I like history. I think we all do. We like to see where our towns come from or our family's lineage has been. I'd like to see it maintained. I really would. But just because it's the oldest building doesn't make it a landmark. And we have a museum full of historical photos of downtown Findlay, right? I mean, we look, 100 years ago, we see these buildings. Well, a lot of them aren't there anymore. And it's not because they didn't want to keep them. It's just that some buildings get old. And we have to make that decision if we should maintain a building, right? But we don't lose its historical value or knowledge. We can still reference these buildings and understand them and enjoy them through historical photos. An example would be the juvenile court downtown, although it's not a Findlay property. Is it something we could tear down and utilize that space? Absolutely. We could use that for parking in Findlay. We could use it to make, a small parking garage, and that would take a lot of the stress off of these downtown businesses that want people to visit, but there's no parking, which has been an issue downtown for quite some time. So I am in favor of saving historical buildings if it's a possibility to do so, and if it's something that we wouldn't use otherwise to help our city grow.
Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
So I'm a little biased in this degree. I love South Main Street. I'm fortunate that I get to know my family's history and I know which of my family built which homes. I love to drive past the Rawson building because that's my grandfather's name on it. I love that building. I love that it still stands. The uniqueness of Findlay, that when you travel outside of Main Street, that those houses haven't been made into businesses and they haven't been chopped all up, that people live in them and restored them. That is so unique. There aren't a lot of towns across the U.S. that have done that. And I think it's part of what makes Findlay special. I think we need to continue to care for them. That's why I talked about, I think there should be some kind of code or fallback that people maintain and that there's quality work done in those homes so they stay standing, so that those buildings are restored and brought back to life. Now, if you have a building that's beyond repair, and we have a few that have gotten that way, we have to make a decision as a community. But I'm grateful that for my own family's history that Findlay has done that they've kept those houses standing, that the oldest house in Findlay still stands today. It stands outside of Donnell because it was moved there so it could be cared for. I appreciate that about Findlay. I don't want to see that lost to progress because I think we can do both.
And Ms. Faison.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm definitely for the preservation of historical buildings. I love seeing them. I love going to the historical museum. I'm sad that the jail, they had taken the jail out. I still remember it when I was a kid. So definitely for that. And yeah, we kind of have to go. It's a balance of, if we can maintain it and what's tied to it. But definitely for the preservation of historical buildings.
Right. There will be a lot of new faces on council this year. There, I believe, is only one ward that is not contested. Not a lot of the incumbents are seeking re-election. Obviously, everyone here is new, will be new to council. With that being the case, what is your key to working with others who, in many cases, may be equally inexperienced and coming in with a fresh slate, but fresh set of eyes, but not a whole lot of experience in this realm? What is your key to working with others and getting yourself up to speed to move forward the agenda of the city? And we'll start with Mr. Wagner.
As we all know, misery loves company. So I think we'll do just fine. I think everybody up here and all the other candidates that I've met so far, very sharp. we're all fast learners. We'll get up to speed. That's the least of my worries. We will figure it out and do very good things for the city of Findlay, even if I don't succeed. Everybody that I know is running, they're going to stay involved. We're all going to stay involved. And if I have to call one of the guys that have been on council for the past, Grant's been there for 14, 15 years, maybe 16 years, he'll take my phone call, and we'll work through this some way, somehow. I definitely know that change is good in any organization that I've been in my whole life. When you get a group of people that just keep on staying in the organization, Jill, and become the president year after year after year, it's not good. You got to sometimes you got to walk away. You got to clean everybody out to make change and to make things run more efficiently so it doesn't get stagnant. So I think everybody knows change is good, and it'll be great. It'll be great for the city of Findlay.
Mr. Odermatt.
Yeah, I'm really excited, too. In fact, I was going to address a lot of this in my closing remarks, and I'll have to come up with something else. I hope that everybody realizes what's going on here. We've got the city of Findlay is set up in 10 wards. We're going to be 3 of those seats. There's 7 other wards. In 6 of those wards, there's 2 people running. If you have a person running in your ward, you need to figure out right now who that person, who you want to vote for. There's all kinds of ways to do that. This forum is one of them. I'll touch on some more in my closing remarks. But this election is going to bring out maybe a few people who aren't really into city politics. We've got a school election on this ballot, and there's going to be people show up just to vote yes or no for the school levy, and they're also going to have the opportunity to vote for a council person. There's going to be 2 choices. In this case, there's 5 choices for 3 spots. All right, we need to pass the word around, make sure people are educated on what's going on, because we need to get the right people in here. I think, as Brad said, I'd feel comfortable if I was elected working with any 2 of these other 4 people. I wouldn't have a problem with it. You're in good hands, but make your choices wisely, because in the end, you're the people who are going to decide who's sitting on city council, not us.
Mr. Needles.
I'm going to mirror what Bradley said. I think it's a great thing that we have all these people that are running, that want to be a part of Findlay and making these decisions. I think there's been far too many times when people ran unopposed, and it just limits the type of people we're getting in here. Now we're all going to be fresh, like Bradley said, and I think that is a good thing. Brad, sorry.
That's what my mom said.
All his mother.
Well, I appreciate your L. Yeah, having fresh ideas on old topics does help. I mean, we still have some of the problems that we've had in the past, and having fresh ideas on an old topic could help us out as well.
Ms. Carlin Kinzinger.
When you do the same thing over and over again, you often get in a rut, and sometimes you don't know you're in a rut. You just are. And when you have someone come along, they can point it out, and they can see that you've been going the same way for too long, and now you're a little bit off course. So I think having fresh voices in city council, the people who went before us did a wonderful job, and I think we have to recognize that. But it also challenges us to step up and do a good job as well. And we have to meet what they have done and continue to do that well. I think all of us would do that well. Getting along with people, that's being an adult, right? You have to listen to other people's ideas. You have to ask their opinions. You have to be collaborative. If you go in with your own agenda and your own, this is exactly what I'm going to do and nobody can deter me from it, I don't think that'll ever go well. So I think that we are in good hands going forward and listening to the other candidates running in the wards. I think we have people coming in who are going to appreciate where it's been and will be able to lend their fresh vision voice, but also aren't coming in with their own preconceived ideas.
And Ms. Faison.
I'll definitely respect people. I'm eager to hash things out. I'm actually excited about it. I love to brainstorm over things. I get so much out of that. I love learning from other people. I'm actually a life learner. I have not mastered anything, but I'm willing to learn and grow continually. And I appreciate passion. I think passion is a driving force for making things happen and getting things done. I really do appreciate that. And I've been involved with a lot of groups over these years. I mean, for my involvement in which I noted, you know, I'm working amongst groups of people. You have to learn to work with each other. And I agree, we need to be adults and act like adults, and it's for the betterment of our community. And that matters.
Thank you. With that, we will move to the closing remarks for this evening, and we will again go right down the row, and we'll begin with Ms. Faison.
So as an advocate for my daughter, Michaela, who has complex medical needs, along with parents who have children with special needs and their children, welcoming the nations and serving this community with the love of Jesus, this will be a natural transition to advocating for this great community. What are some of the red flags within our local city government? Prioritizing wants over needs, spending inappropriately, not always listening to concerns of the citizens, excessive grants, not being able to distinguish boundaries when it comes to creating a healthy community, rubber stamping items, pushing through policies too quickly with lack of public input, and the real nemesis, the status quo. I want to address these issues, hammer out best practices, and move the city in a more productive and healthier path. I will encourage fiscal responsibility by prioritizing needs over wants. I will encourage and cultivate a healthier community, and I will advocate for you. Your vote for me will bring about real change. I will address the elephant in the room, and Findlay will be better served as a result. Please follow my campaign page on Facebook, Antonia Faison for City Council at Large. I'm asking for your vote on May 6th, or with early voting that starts tomorrow, April 8th, and I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Carlin Kensinger.
Legacy guides us, community unites us, vision drives us. So my daughter is a junior at Findlay High School. Every day she walks the same halls that my Uncle Bill did when he was part of the school's first graduating class in 1964. Through Findlay First Edition, Christine has built lifelong friendships, grown as a leader, and realized the value of camaraderie. This fall, she'll visit our sister city in Japan as a foreign exchange student. She's looking ahead to her future with excitement. I'm running for city council because I want the same sense of hope and opportunity for all of our kids. I want your children to feel proud of their hometown, to experience the strength of this community, and to see a future here that excites them, one they don't have to leave to achieve their dreams. Findlay is at a crossroads. My husband is a pastor. My brother is a firefighter. My cousin is an electrician over at Whirlpool. I understand the deep importance of faith, safety, and good local jobs. The choices we make in the next 2 years will shape our community for the next 20. I love living in Findlay. I'm running to honor the legacy of those who came before us, to serve the needs of the people who are living here now, and to build a strong future for the next generation. Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm Heather Carlin Kensinger. I'd be honored to earn your support and your vote for Findlay City Council.
Thank you. Mr. Needles.
I'll close with this. Findlay is more than just a place. It's our home. It has shaped me, inspired me, and instilled me in the values of our community, hard work, and responsibility. As your city council representative, I will uphold those values, ensuring fiscal prudence, fostering growth and opportunity, and building strong, effective relationships. This campaign isn't about me. It's about us. And it's about Findlay's future and making our city even stronger. I ask for your support as we work together to make Findlay's future bright. Thank you.
Mr. Odermatt.
I'd like to touch on a couple of my main points that didn't get covered in the questions. And one is I'm a very strong advocate for local control. I think that this city needs to determine its own destiny and not be influenced by the state or federal government. I think we have the best idea of what's best for us. In addition to that, I'd also like to see a limited interference in people's individual affairs. I mean, we do have to have some things. We have to have zoning. We have to have some things going on, but I'd like to see it kept to a minimum. I'd also like to see if I were on council, I would be a person who, and I think it was Antonia said, not rushing everything through, taking time to ask the questions, get some more information, get public input. I think a lot of people in this city, the ones that I've talked to, and I'm sure a lot of the other candidates, feel that people think the city government doesn't care. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. They don't care what we think. We have to change that. So if you are one of those people, then research your candidates. Find ways to look at them. One thing I'd like to point out, the Hancock County GOP put on a webpage. If you go to the Hancock County, Ohio GOP, isn't that what it is? All these candidates were given the opportunity to complete a survey. Read their answers. You might find some differences between the candidates there.
And Mr. Wagner.
So far, this campaign has been very humbling for me. It's been one of the greatest highlights of my life. It's been exciting. I see all the candidates who are willing to open their hearts and minds to the public, and this brings great joy knowing that our constitutional republic is alive and well. As I stated in my opening statement, if elected, I'll be prepared for all the meetings and the committee assignments. I'll make decisions that I believe the voters will approve of. I will apply common sense principles to all financial decisions. I'll always put Findlay first. I'm confident that Findlay's best days are still ahead of us. If elected, I pledge to take my oath of office as seriously as the oath of office that I took to defend our Constitution when I joined the Navy. On May 6th, or if you're inclined to vote earlier, I believe it starts tomorrow, I'm asking for your vote. Please vote Bradley Wagner. My signs say Brad Wagner, but Bradley Wagner when you go into the booth for Findlay City Councilman at Large. I want to say God bless all of you, and God bless the city of Findlay. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Also, our thanks to the candidates for taking part in this evening's forum. Thanks again to 50 North for hosting us. Thanks to the Findlay-Hancock County Chamber of Commerce for their support. Reminder, as you've heard, early voting begins tomorrow, and Election Day itself is Tuesday, May 6th. I'm Chris Oakes. Good night.
Your news authority is 1330 WFIN, and now at 95.5 FM.